today. Over. Okay, let's try that again. Good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and start the Olympic Region Clean Air Agency Finance Committee meeting for October 9th. This is Jim Cooper. I'm filling in for Greg Brotherton, our finance chair, who is out today. And we have our alternate, Jill Warnke from Grace Harbor County joining us, along with Randy Netherland from Mason County. So welcome. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, so are you both okay with the agenda?
I think so. Since I'm an alternate, I'm not exactly caught up on all this.
Yep. Do you need a motion or just?
I'm okay with consensus. And Jill, really, we're just doing the minutes and the financial report for the quarter. So it's pretty basic.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so go ahead, Randy.
I'm good.
Okay, wonderful. So we have an agenda. I need a motion to approve the minutes from September 14th.
Mr. Chair, move approval of the minutes of September 14th as presented.
And I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any amendments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. That takes us to the first quarter financial report. We're going to go to our finance director, Lynn.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to see y'all. So I have a request. Would you like me to share my screen, or do you all have the financial report in front of you or on your screen? What's your choice? Mr. Chair, what would you like me to do?
Jeff and I have it in front of us, but it'd be, so Randy and Jill, what's best for you?
I have it, but Randy's on his phone probably, so he might not even be able to see it on the phone screen.
No, I'm sure we're good. Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, the bases are best if we can. So yeah.
Okay, so what we have before y'all is our first quarter financial report for fiscal year 2023 for the period ending September 30th, 2022. Hard to imagine we're in 2023 already. And the results are fairly consistent as in prior years. The board approved a $3,103,000 budget. And for the first 3 months, ORCAA has collected $929,125 in revenue. And I'll just touch on a couple of the revenue sources. You know, some revenue sources are received at the beginning of the year, such as our Title V or AOP, or registration, while others are billed and received mid-year, such as our assessments. So that's why you're going to see the varying percentages. And in comparing our collections from last year to this year, we're on target. This year we've collected 30% of our budgeted revenue. Last year it was 34%. So we're in line, we're in sync. We did have, you know, a modest amount that includes dividends in our miscellaneous revenue. You know, it's not much to speak towards, but I want to bring it up anyhow. You know, we do include a modest $1,000. We're already halfway there, but again, it has to do with dividends that ORCAA receives on employees' credit card purchases. So that's a nice unexpected revenue. And then, of course, our small wellness grants also run through and funnel through that line. On the right-hand side, you'll see a small chart that identifies the types of sources of revenue that come in. 86% reflects fees that have to do with our NOC, notice of construction, our registration, our asbestos, land clearing. Those are all fees that are charged our users, consumers. 11% is our grants. As you know, with grants, we receive most of that revenue in a quarterly basis. So for July, August, and September, I just submitted our quarterly request to Department of Ecology, EPA, for our grants that include the wood stove education, the wood smoke reduction, the PM 2.5, Chica Peak Core, FSEC. So you'll see those revenues come in October. And for our, of course, assessments, you won't see a percentage there until January of 2023. We typically collect 100% of the assessments in January and February. And then the penalties, modest amount there, 1%. Other has to do with our rent collections and miscellaneous income, but we're on target there. So for the revenues, again, 30%. Any questions on revenue prior to moving on to our expenditures?
Just speak up if you do, because the screen is far away.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay. All right, moving on to expenditures. For our payroll expenditures, we are on target. Fiscal year 2023, we spent 23% or $530,000. I know that Mr. Cooper had asked us to look at the cost of what the ORCAA would do to the potential budget. And I'll talk about that at the end of our expenditures. But we're on target with our payroll expenditures. Moving on to the non-payroll, we're at 28%. Non-payroll has to do with our office supplies, insurance, telephone, postage. And like I said, with revenue, there are some expenditures that we pay on an annual basis up front, such as your insurance. You pay your car insurance probably up front, your house insurance up front. We have to pay our insurance for the building, our vehicles, bonding for our board of directors. So that's where the large expenditure of $38,000 comes in at. We were close to our projections as well. I anticipated a slight increase over last year. So we're about $1,000 shy of what I expected and budgeted, but we're still on target. So we're at 28%. Again, the insurance pushed us over that benchmark of 25. For the building operations and maintenance, yay, this is a celebratory area that we can discuss, and that is the final payment of our debt on our office building. Yeehaw. And
Wow.
so we have basically spent very little in the building and operations. We will be making our last principal and interest payment December 1, 2022. And
Yay, good news.
woo!
Something to celebrate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Burn the deed party,
Woohoo.
burn the mortgage party, I mean.
Well, let's get it first from the county. And then
I didn't hear you, Lynn, it cut out.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll follow up with you on that. I got to get the deed signed from the Thurston County who's carrying the note. So
Yeah,
you know.
get that signed off.
Yes.
We're
And
actually at the last meeting, and it probably reflected in the minutes, I think we did talk about having a celebratory, maybe barbecue to celebrate paying off the building. And actually, 2023, it'll be ORCAA's 55th year. So we could have, and Jim, I think you agreed to smoke a brisket, right?
Yeah, there you go. That sounds good.
Oh, do you have that in writing that he's gonna smoke a brisket for us?
oh,
I'll come for a meeting. I'll bring meat. I'm down. Or a party.
okay. And then moving
A
on.
burn barrel demonstration too, Dan. Just kidding.
Oh. So, and then moving on to the program operations that has to do with the payments under our wood smoke reduction program, the monitoring equipment purchases, and then our new grant with EPA, the American Rescue Plan. And then I will touch on that more heavily at our board meeting and the status and give you an update there. So again, we're down on our expenditures there, which is not unusual. Those typically come up and increase during the course of the year. So we're at a roughly 22% of total expenditures year to date on target, slightly underspent. We'll see some changes next quarter as well, I'm sure. So that is our comparative summary of budget, revenue, expenditures. Entertain any questions before moving on to the fund balance. Okay. Hearing none, I guess I'll move on to the second page, the fund balance. Can y'all hear me good?
Very well.
Yes.
All right. I'm not screaming at you, I hope. So the beginning fund balance, July 1, 2022, we started out with $2,026,000. Considering the revenue we just discussed, the expenditures we shared, we're actually sitting slightly higher. We have 2,304,000 in the Thurston County Treasurer's bank account. So that's good. That 2,300,000 represents the following allocations that have been determined by resolution by the Board of Directors. We have contingency reserves, contingency funds of $865. You obviously can see the emergency expense, the tenant security deposit. Some of these we can't touch unless the board approves. We have an unrestricted fund balance of $1,500,000. And that basically is a summary of our checking account with Thurston County Treasurer. Any questions on the fund balance sheet?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, that is my report at this point for the quarterly expenditure report. Jeff, would you like to add anything else or?
No, just thank you, Lynn, for walking us through and for putting this clear information sheet together. Again, it's nice to be 1/4 of the way through the budget year, to be roughly 1/4 of the way. I mean, everything seems to be lining up as we expected to. So
There was one thing, sorry, board and staff. I neglected to add the notes I have on the Wall Cares Fund that Jim Cooper had asked me to report on as well. As you know, the Wall Cares was delayed by 18 months, and it is scheduled to begin July 2023. And it's going to be administered primarily by Employment Security Department. And there have been some changes to the law. I will continue to update staff because it will affect them directly, as the premiums at this point are scheduled to be paid for by employees. At this point, also, Wall Cares is going to start out with 0.58% of 1% that will be deducted from employees' paycheck, and that's based on their gross pay. And so if someone makes, $5,000 a month, then their premium is going to be $29 per month. That's an example. And I know there was a recent actuarial study that was completed by the state on the how stable the Wall Cares plan is going to be. And it's interesting that they published that with the actuarial study that has been completed, they anticipate the start of July 2023, premiums start coming in. They're going to have a solid program for the next 50, 70 years. I don't know what their method of methodology is, but it's been published and it's out there. Any questions?
Lynn, just a comment. I know I've said it before, but I sure appreciate your confidence. Each time I work with you, I get reminded how much I appreciate it. We've come a long way, but you were always good. But you definitely have learned to speak our language. I appreciate you.
I appreciate that, Randy. Thank you.
Thanks, Randy, for adding that. So Lynn, what's the total cost for our employees for those premiums annually?
Okay, so if we started July 2023, typically what I'm going to do and provide with you, my backup is I take the gross salaries of 1,700,000. Gotta add an extra zero, sorry. 9.58%. That's about 9,800, about right under $10,000 a year for 16 staff.
Okay. And then just to remind me, we pay the premiums for the family leave for the employees already, right?
Correct. Currently, ORCAA pays the employee portion of the paid family medical leave premium, which is also going up January 2023. It's going up 0.2%. Right now it's 0.6%. It's going up to 0.8% January 2023. And in my communications and following the law and how they are determining and showing their losses and payments, it's definitely a highly utilized program, more so than they had anticipated. And so we need to anticipate that they will likely go up on an annual basis. They may follow CPI, they may follow something,
Right.
some other closely, factor, which it makes sense. It makes
Oh, yeah.
sense, so.
Okay, thank you. So just so I'm clear, the premiums and the program start July 1 of 23
For Walk Cares.
for Walk Care.
Correct.
Yes, okay. So if we wanted to consider that as a policy, that would be in the next budget cycle.
Yes,
Right.
sir. And what I do want to add also is that we currently have, I think it's 5 or 7, I can't remember, memory is not serving me, right? Currently we have 16 employees, 5 to 7 of them are exempt from paying those premiums because they got in when the window allowed them to secure other long-term care by the due date, which was November 30th of 2021. They had to provide me with a letter from ESD that Employment Security Department approved their request for a waiver because they provided them with documentation that they met the exemption. Employees are required to give me payroll that copy of their exemption letter, which will exempt them from payment of premium starting July of 2023 or the beginning of the program.
So previous exemption still applies, but
Yes,
there's
ma'am.
no option for exemption going forward.
A good question, Jill. The law has been changed to add those folks who are close to retirement. I think it's 5 years from retirement because you have to be paying premiums into the Walk Cares to
Right.
be able to use it. They may be prorating it for those who say I'm going to retire in a year and I pay 6 months. That doesn't give me any, I don't know if they're going to prorate my 6 months if I need it later on, right? Within a 10-year period. There's talk about all those folks, there are folks who retire and move to Arizona or
Yeah, and this
Southern
plan
California.
isn't portable.
The old law said that you're not covered even if you did pay 10 years or 12 years. So there's still a lot of work to be done, and a lot to read. So my ears are open and listening.
I just hired an employee in Oregon and there's no exemption for an employee that lives and works in Oregon for my Washington company.
Right now, yeah.
And that's the same with Idaho. My nephew lives across the border. His company is Spokane.
Right,
And they have to pay, living in Post Falls, Idaho, they have to pay Washington long-term health care because that's where their employer is, but they'll never have coverage. So that needs to be fixed. That's a racket.
I agree.
That's theft as far as I'm concerned.
It's unfortunate. So, but yes, any other questions on that?
I just want to emphasize that you brought up the exemptions. And so if we do talk about any policy, we'll need to make sure we have parity for all employees around that benefit.
Exactly.
Okay.
I made a note of that too.
Okay.
We'll have to figure out how do we equitably provide that benefit if it's something that we decide to do.
Right, cool. Yeah, and I'll trust Lynn and Jeff to, have that in the budget calculations with the, next to the CPIs and probably a salary study. There'll be a lot of moving levers in that next budget. And so I won't ask for anything else today. We'll just see kind of where we get in that process.
Sounds good.
Anything else for Jill and Randy on that?
Nope.
Good discussion. Thank you for bringing that, Lynn. It's good to have it up front.
You're welcome.
Okay, anything for the good of the order, Jeff?
No, I don't think so. At the full board meeting, Jim, you'll give a report out of the finance committee.
Uh-huh.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I'll do a simple, it won't be very long because we're on track. That's pretty much it. So 22 and 30 is what I see.
Yeah. And this finance report was attached to the board agenda, so folks have access to this too. So
I actually really appreciated that it was linked in the agenda as well. So thanks for that. Probably Debbie or Lynn, whoever made that happen.
Debbie's the master of agendas and putting everything together. And so, yeah, and Friday when she was putting all this together, Of course, with the storm, we were having power flickering and the server kept going down. But she persevered and got the agenda out slightly before 5 p.m. on Friday. But well, both packets, both for the finance committee and for the board meeting. So thanks, Debbie.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anything else for the good of the order?
Now, is the meeting link for the board meeting the same or different link? I
Same
didn't-
link, it should be right underneath the agenda.
Okay.
And then so we'll take a break till 10. We're
Awesome.
adjourned. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
See you soon.